The morning sun peeked through the blinds as Lily Morgan woke up on her 17th birthday. She stretched and smiled, feeling that familiar birthday excitement bubbling inside her. Her small bedroom in their Boston apartment wasn't much, but it had always been home. Photos of her and her mom, Nancy, covered the walls. Vacations at the beach, school plays, and hiking trips. A lifetime of just the two of them. Nancy had always been both mom and dad to Lily. Whenever Lily asked about her father over the years, Nancy would give the same answer. He was a wonderful man who had to go back to his country before I knew about you. As a child, Lily had created elaborate fantasies about him. Maybe he was a spy or a famous musician or even royalty. But as she grew older, those dreams faded, replaced by the simple wish to know who he was. Lily padded into the kitchen in her pajamas to find Nancy flipping pancakes, her dark hair tied back in a messy bun. "Happy birthday, sweetheart," Nancy beamed, setting down a plate stacked with pancakes, complete with 17 candles stuck haphazardly on top. Lily laughed. "Mom, you're going to burn the building down. Make a wish before the smoke alarm goes off then," Nancy said, her eyes crinkling with laughter. Lily closed her eyes, took a deep breath, and blew. The same wish she'd made for years, to know her father. After breakfast, Nancy handed Lily a small wrapped box. "This isn't your main present," she explained. "That's coming later, but I thought it was time for you to have this." Curious, Lily unwrapped the package to find a delicate silver locket. Inside was a tiny photo of a handsome young man with kind eyes and a crooked smile. "Is this?" Lily whispered, her heart pounding. Nancy nodded, tears forming in her eyes. "That's your father. His name is James Harrington. Why now?" Lily asked, her fingers tracing the photo. Nancy sighed, looking suddenly much older. "Because you're almost an adult and you deserve to know. And because," she hesitated, "he's been in the news lately." While Nancy went to get ready for work, Lily slipped away to her bedroom with the locket clutched tightly in her palm. For the first time in her life, she had a name, a face. Her fingers flew across her laptop keyboard as she typed James Harrington into the search bar. What popped up made her gasp. Headlines filled her screen. "Lord James Harrington to assume position as heir following Prince Edward's tragic death and distant cousin of royal family now. Next in line for British throne, staring. Back at her was an older version of the man in her locket, now dressed in formal attire at various royal events. The articles explained how the king's only son had unexpectedly passed away, and with no other direct heirs, the line of succession had shifted to James Harrington, a distant cousin who had suddenly found himself next in line to the throne. Lily's head spun. Her father wasn't just some random British guy. He was about to become the future King of England. When Nancy returned home that evening, Lily was waiting with her laptop open. "You knew," Lily said quietly. "You knew he wasn't just anyone." Nancy sank into the couch beside her daughter. "I knew he came from an important family, yes. But he wasn't in line for the throne back then. That's happened recently. He was just James to me, a charming British exchange student studying international relations." "Tell me everything," Lily demanded, her voice shaking. "I need to know." Nancy's eyes grew distant as she began to speak. "We met at the university library. I was studying literature. He was doing a year abroad. He spilled coffee all over my books, and somehow that led to dinner." She smiled at the memory. "We were together for 8 months. It was magical, Lily. He was funny and kind, not at all what you'd expect from someone with his background." "What happened?" Lily asked. "His father became ill. He had to return to England immediately. We promised to stay in touch, but this was before email was common. We wrote letters." Nancy got up and went to her bedroom, returning with a dusty shoebox. "Here." Inside were dozens of letters, photographs, and mementos. Lily picked up a photo of her mother and James, arms wrapped around each other on a beach, looking impossibly young and happy. "When I found out I was pregnant with you, I wrote to him right away," Nancy continued. "Then again and again. But I never heard back." Her voice cracked. "Eventually I stopped writing." "He just abandoned you?" Lily asked, anger building inside her. Nancy shook her head. "I never believed that. The James I knew would never have done that. I always thought something must have happened. Maybe my letters never reached him, or his never reached me. Or maybe his family intervened. They were very traditional, from what he told me. Lily spent hours going through the box, reading the love letters, examining the photos. Each one revealed more about the father she'd never known. His handwriting was neat but slanted. He loved history and classical music, but also had a secret fondness for American rock bands. He wrote poetry, not very good poetry, according to his own admission in the letters, but he tried because Nancy loved it. The next morning, instead of going to school, Lily went to the public library. She spent the day researching everything she could find about Lord James Harrington. She learned he had never married, devoted himself to charity work with children's organizations, and was respected for his diplomatic skills. Every photo she found of him showed the same kind eyes she had seen in her locket, though now with lines of age around them. When she returned home, Nancy was waiting for her, having received a call from school about her absence. "I want to find him," Lily announced without preamble. Nancy's face paled. "Lily, he's not just anyone. He's about to become the heir to the British throne. There are protocols, security concerns." "I don't care about any of that," Lily insisted. "He's my father, and from everything I've read about him, he's a good person. Don't you think he deserves to know he has a daughter?" "It's complicated," Nancy sighed. "The royal family, they protect their own. They have ways of making problems disappear." "Am I a problem?" Lily asked quietly. Nancy's eyes filled with tears as she pulled her daughter into a hug. "No, sweetheart. You're the best thing that ever happened to me. But to them, an American teenager claiming to be the illegitimate daughter of the future king, yes, they might see that as a problem." That night, Lily couldn't sleep. She kept thinking about James Harrington, wondering if he had her laugh or if she had inherited his love of history. Did he ever think about Nancy? Did he ever wonder if there might have been a child? The next day after school, Lily went to visit her best friend Tom. "You're not seriously considering going to England, are you?" Tom asked, eyes wide after Lily had explained everything. "I have to," Lily replied, determination settling in her chest. "I've saved almost $3,000 from my summer jobs. It's enough for a plane ticket and a place to stay for a couple of weeks." "What about your mom? What does she say?" Lily bit her lip. "I haven't exactly told her yet." Tom rolled his eyes. "Great plan. I'm going to tell her," Lily insisted, "after I've bought the ticket, so she can't talk me out of it." That evening, Lily sat at her computer staring at the flight confirmation. Boston to London one way, departing in 2 weeks. Her hands trembled as she hit print. There was no turning back now. When Nancy came home from her late shift at the hospital, Lily was waiting in the living room, the printed ticket in her hand. "We need to talk," Lily said. Nancy took one look at her daughter's face and knew. "What have you done?" Lily handed her the ticket. "I'm going to find my father." Nancy sank into a chair, her face a mix of fear and resignation. "Lily, please think about this. You can't just show up at Buckingham Palace and announce you're his daughter." "I know that," Lily said, "but I'll find a way. I have his old family address from your letters. It's a start. And what will you do if they turn you away? Or worse, if he denies knowing me?" "Denies you?" Lily swallowed hard. She'd thought about that possibility, but hearing her mother say it out loud made it suddenly, terrifyingly real. "Then at least I'll know," she said finally. "I can't spend my whole life wondering, Mom. I need answers." "Don't you?" Nancy was quiet for a long moment. Then she reached for her phone. "What are you doing?" Lily asked. "Calling my supervisor to request time off," Nancy replied. "If you're determined to do this, you're not doing it alone." Relief flooded through Lily. "You'll come with me?" Nancy shook her head. "No, you need to do this yourself." "But I'm not sending my 17-year-old daughter to a foreign country without preparation." She looked Lily in the eye. "We have 2 weeks to get you ready. You need to learn about royal protocols, British customs, how to approach this without causing a scandal." Lily nodded, determination settling in her chest like a physical weight. 2 weeks to prepare for a journey that would change her life forever. 2 weeks until she would look into the eyes of the man who might someday be king, the man who was her father. As she went to bed that night, Lily clutched the silver locket, whispering to the tiny photograph inside. "I'm coming to find you. I hope you'll want to know me too." The next 2 weeks passed in a blur of preparation. Lily spent every spare moment researching British customs, royal protocols, and anything she could find about James Harrington. Nancy helped her practice proper etiquette in the evenings, though both of them knew their crash course couldn't compare to a lifetime of training. "Remember, Nancy said the night before Lily's departure. "You're not going there to cause a scandal or demand anything. You're just looking for the truth." Lily nodded, folding another sweater into her suitcase. "I know, Mom. I just want to meet him to see if he even knew about me." Nancy sat on the edge of Lily's bed, her fingers fidgeting with a loose thread on the quilt. "I've been thinking about what to do when you find him." She pulled a small envelope from her pocket. "I wrote this for James. It explains everything. How I tried to contact him, how wonderful you've turned out to be." Her voice cracked slightly. "Just in case he doesn't believe you." Lily took the envelope, tucking it carefully into the inner pocket of her backpack. Inside was also a small plastic container with a strand of her hair. Nancy had insisted on this, saying, "If it comes down to it, this will prove who you are." The morning of her departure arrived with gray skies and drizzling rain. At the airport, Nancy hugged Lily tightly as if trying to memorize the feel of her daughter in her arms. "Call me as soon as you land," she insisted, "and every day after that. If anything goes wrong, anything at all, you come straight home. Promise me." "I promise," Lily whispered, suddenly terrified of what lay ahead. For a moment she considered staying, forgetting this whole crazy plan. But then she remembered the kind eyes and the silver locket around her neck, and her resolve strengthened. The flight to London was the longest 7 hours of Lily's life. She tried to sleep but couldn't, her mind racing with imagined scenarios of meeting her father. Would he recognize something of himself in her? Would he be happy to discover he had a daughter? Or would she be an unwelcome complication in his new royal life? Heathrow Airport was overwhelming. A maze of terminals, signs, and announcements in proper British accents. Clutching her backpack, Lily followed the crowd to passport control, her heart pounding as the officer examined her documents. "Purpose of your visit?" he asked, not looking up. "Tourism," Lily replied, the lie sticking in her throat. Outside the airport, she caught the underground into central London, following Nancy's carefully written instructions. They had booked her a small room in a budget hotel near Paddington Station. Nothing fancy, but clean and, most importantly, affordable. The hotel room was tiny, with barely enough space for the single bed and a small desk, but the window offered a view of a typical London street with red buses passing by. Lily dropped her bags and immediately pulled out her phone to call Nancy. "I made it," she said when her mother answered. "The room is fine, and London is—" She glanced out the window at the rainy street. "Exactly how I imagined it would be." After assuring her mother she was safe, Lily unfolded the map of London she'd brought and circled 2 locations. The old family address from Nancy's letters, in a neighborhood called Kensington, and Buckingham Palace. They seemed impossibly far apart on the map, but in reality London was smaller than she'd imagined. Despite her exhaustion, Lily couldn't wait. She grabbed her raincoat and headed out into the drizzly afternoon. The underground was confusing at first with its colorful lines and British terminology, mind the gap and way out instead of exit. But she managed to find her way to Kensington, emerging from the station into an upscale neighborhood, with gleaming white townhouses and expensive cars parked along the streets. The address from Nancy's letters led her to a beautiful, Georgian building with a black wrought iron fence. A discreet brass plaque beside the door read, "Harrington House." Lily stood across the street, staring up at the imposing residence, her courage suddenly deserting her. What was she doing here? Did she really think she could just knock on the door and ask for James? As she hesitated, the front door opened and an elderly woman in a tweed suit emerged, locking the door behind her. Before Lily could approach, a sleek black car pulled up and the woman got in and drove away. Lily crossed the street and examined the building more closely. There was an intercom system beside the door with no names listed, only numbers. She raised her hand to press one, then stopped. What would she say? "Hi, I'm looking for James Harrington." "I think I'm his daughter?" They'd think she was crazy or worse, trying to scam them somehow. She needed more information before making contact. Discouraged but not defeated, Lily headed back to the underground. Her next stop, Buckingham Palace. The famous royal residence was crawling with tourists despite the rain. Lily joined a group watching the changing of the guard, listening as their guide explained the ceremony. She caught snippets about the royal family, but nothing specific about James Harrington. After the ceremony, Lily wandered toward St. James's Park, her feet aching and her spirits low. She found a bench and sat down, pulling out the sandwich she'd bought earlier. As she ate, she observed the mix of tourists and locals enjoying the park despite the drizzle. First time in London, Lily looked up to find a young man about her age standing nearby, holding a camera with a professional-looking lens. "Is it that obvious?" she asked. He laughed and sat down on the other end of the bench. "Only because you're actually taking time to look around. Most Londoners are too busy rushing somewhere else." He extended his hand. "I'm Oliver, by the way." "Lily," she replied, shaking his hand. "And yes, first time here. Just arrived today, actually." "Ambitious, hitting the tourist spots right away," Oliver said, adjusting his camera. "I'm just here taking photos for my university project." "You're a student?" Lily asked. Oliver nodded. "Photography at University of the Arts, London. But I work part-time at a cafe near here to pay the bills." He glanced at her curiously. "So what brings you to London?" "Family holiday." Lily hesitated. "Kind of. I'm looking for someone, actually." "Oh? Let me guess. Long-lost relative. Boyfriend who ghosted you? Famous celebrity you're stalking?" His tone was teasing. Despite herself, Lily smiled. "The first one. Sort of. Intriguing," Oliver said. "Care to elaborate?" Normally, Lily wouldn't share personal details with a stranger, but something about Oliver's friendly manner made her feel at ease. Plus, she realized she could use a local's help. "I'm looking for my father," she admitted. "I've never met him. He's British, and my mom lost contact with him before I was born." Oliver's expression turned sympathetic. "That's tough. Do you know where he lives?" "Sort of. I went to his family's house earlier, but I couldn't bring myself to knock." She sighed. "It's complicated." "Family usually is," Oliver agreed. "Well, if you need a tour guide or just someone to talk to while you're here, I'm usually at the Crown and Anchor Cafe most mornings. It's just over there." He pointed toward a street bordering the park. After exchanging numbers, Oliver left to continue his photography project, and Lily headed back to her hotel, exhausted but grateful for having made a potential friend in this unfamiliar city. The next morning, Lily woke early, still on Boston time. After a quick breakfast at the hotel, she headed to the Crown and Anchor. The cafe was cozy and warm, with mismatched furniture and walls lined with bookshelves. Oliver was behind the counter tying on an apron. "Lily," he called when he spotted her. "You actually came." She ordered a coffee and took a seat by the window, watching London come to life outside. Oliver joined her during his break, bringing fresh scones with jam and clotted cream. "So, any progress with your father's search?" he asked. Lily shook her head. "Not yet. I'm not sure where to start." She hesitated, then pulled out her phone. "This is going to sound crazy, but have you ever heard of a man named James Harrington?" Oliver frowned thoughtfully. "Sounds familiar. Is he someone important?" Lily showed him a news article about Lord James Harrington becoming next in line to the throne. Oliver's eyes widened. "Wait, you're saying Lord Harrington is your father? The next King of England?" "Shh." Lily glanced around nervously. "Yes, but I don't have any proof except my mom's word and some old letters and photos." "That's—" Oliver seemed at a loss for words. "That's quite a claim." "I know how it sounds," Lily said miserably. "Like I'm some crazy person or con artist. That's why I can't just go knocking on doors." Oliver studied her face for a long moment. "You know, you do have his eyes. And the chin." He pulled out his phone and compared a photo of James Harrington to Lily's face. "There's definitely a resemblance." Hope sparked in Lily's chest. "Really?" "Really," Oliver confirmed. "So what's your plan?" Lily slumped in her chair. "I don't have one. I thought I'd figure it out when I got here, but now I realize how impossible this is. He's surrounded by security staff and royal protocols. How does an ordinary girl from Boston even get close to someone like that?" Oliver tapped his fingers thoughtfully on the table. "My aunt works as a housekeeper at Clarence House. That's where some of the royal family lives." Lily straightened. "Does Lord Harrington live there?" "No, but she might know where he does. And more importantly, she might know how to get a message to him." Oliver checked his watch. "I need to get back to work, but I'll call her tonight." "Come back tomorrow morning?" For the first time since arriving in London, Lily felt a flicker of real hope. That night, she video called Nancy, sharing her meeting with Oliver and his potential connection. "Be careful, honey," Nancy warned. "I don't want you getting your hopes up. And we don't know this Oliver person." "I know, Mom," Lily said, "but he seems genuine." And right now he's the only lead I have. The next morning, Lily arrived at the cafe to find Oliver waiting with an excited expression. "I talked to my aunt," he said as soon as Lily sat down. "She says Lord Harrington has been staying at his London residence in Belgravia since the prince's death. Security is tight because of his new position, but she thinks she can pass a letter to one of his staff." Lily's heart raced. "A letter? Like right now?" Oliver nodded. "If you write it today, she can try to deliver it tomorrow." Hands shaking, Lily pulled out a notebook. For hours, she drafted and redrafted her letter, trying to find the right words to introduce herself to a father who didn't know she existed. Oliver offered suggestions between serving customers, but ultimately this was Lily's story to tell. By afternoon, she had a final version. It was simple and honest, explaining who she was, how Nancy had tried to contact him years ago and why she had come to London. She included her phone number and hotel information, along with her mother's letter and a small photograph of herself. As she sealed the envelope, Lily felt a strange mix of terror and relief. After 17 years of wondering, she was about to reach out to her father. Whether he responded or not, at least she had tried. "What now?" she asked Oliver as he took the envelope carefully. "Now," he said with a gentle smile. "We wait." The next 3 days were the longest of Lily's life. She spent her mornings at Oliver's cafe, nursing cups of tea and jumping every time the door opened. In the afternoons, she wandered London's museums and parks, trying to distract herself from constantly checking her phone. "No news is good news," Oliver reassured her on the third morning. "If they were going to have you arrested for harassment, it would have happened by now." Lily shot him a look. "That's not funny." "Sorry," he said, sliding a fresh scone across the table. "On the house. My aunt says these things take time. The letter has definitely been delivered, but Lord Harrington's schedule is packed with meetings and official appearances since the announcement." Lily nodded, picking at the scone without really tasting it. Maybe this was a mistake. Maybe he doesn't want to be found. Or maybe he never knew you existed, Oliver pointed out gently. "Give him time." That afternoon, Lily decided to visit the British Museum. As she wandered among ancient artifacts, her phone rang with an unknown number. Her heart leapt, but it was only the hotel manager asking if she wanted to extend her stay since her booking ended the next day. Reality crashed down around her. Her return flight was in 5 days and her money was running low. She would have to make a decision soon: extend her stay in London and hope for a response, or admit defeat and go home. Back in her hotel room, Lily called Nancy, fighting back tears as she explained the situation. "I can send you more money if you want to stay longer," Nancy offered. "No, Mom, you've already done enough." Lily sighed. "I think I need to face facts. Either he got my letter and doesn't want to meet me, or my letter never made it to him at all." "What does your heart tell you?" Nancy asked softly. Lily touched the silver locket around her neck. "That I should give it one more day." The next morning, Lily packed her belongings and checked out of the hotel, leaving her luggage with the concierge. She had decided to spend her last day at St. James's Park, where she'd met Oliver. Something about the peaceful gardens called to her. The day was unusually sunny, and the park was filled with people enjoying the good weather. Lily found a quiet bench and sat down, watching ducks paddle across the lake. Despite her disappointment, she felt a strange sense of peace. At least she had tried. She must have dozed off in the warm sun because she woke with a start to find someone standing over her. For a brief, disoriented moment, she thought it was Oliver. Then her vision cleared and she realized it was a tall man in a dark suit with an earpiece, the unmistakable look of security personnel. "Miss Morgan?" the man asked quietly. Lily's heart pounded. "Yes? Would you please come with me? Someone would like to speak with you." Lily stood on shaky legs. "Who?" The man simply gestured toward a black car with tinted windows parked on the nearby road. Every stranger danger warning Nancy had ever given her flashed through Lily's mind. But then she spotted another security officer standing by the car, and between them, waiting, was a figure she recognized instantly from her online research. It was Lord James Harrington. He looked older than in the photographs from Nancy's box, of course. His dark hair was now salted with gray, and there were lines around his eyes that were exactly the same shade of green as Lily's. He wore a simple dark suit that somehow looked more expensive than any clothing Lily had ever seen. As she approached, his expression was unreadable, not hostile but cautious, assessing. Lily stopped a few feet away, suddenly unsure what to say. All her practiced speeches fled from her mind. "Hello, Lily," he said finally. His voice was deep with a crisp British accent, but there was a hint of warmth in it. "I believe we should talk." They sat in a private corner of an elegant tea room nearby. The security men maintained a discreet distance, while a waiter brought tea and small sandwiches that Lily couldn't bring herself to touch. "I apologize for the delay in contacting you," Lord Harrington said, stirring his tea. "Your letter was unexpected, to say the least." "I needed time to process it." Lily nodded, her throat tight. "I understand. Do you?" He studied her face. "My entire life has changed in the past month. My cousin and his son died within weeks of each other, and suddenly I'm next in line to a throne I never expected or wanted. And now," he gestured toward her. "I'm sorry for the timing," Lily said quietly. "I didn't know about any of that when I found out who you were. I just wanted to meet you, to know where I came from." Lord Harrington sighed, his shoulders dropping slightly. "When did your mother tell you about me?" "On my birthday, 5 days ago." Lily pulled out the silver locket and opened it to show him the photo inside. Something flickered across his face. Recognition, maybe even nostalgia. "Nancy," he murmured. "How is she?" "She's good." "She's a nurse now." Lily hesitated. "She tried to tell you about me. She wrote letters." Lord Harrington's expression hardened. "I never received any letters from her after I returned to England." She thought that might be the case. Lily reached into her bag and pulled out the envelope from Nancy. "She wanted you to have this." He took it cautiously as if it might burn him. "May I?" When Lily nodded, he opened it and began to read. As his eyes scanned the pages, his face went through a series of emotions. Surprise, confusion, anger, and finally, a profound sadness. "My father," he said after a long silence, "and my grandmother." They intercepted her letters. He looked up at Lily, his eyes bright with unshed tears. "She sent 7 letters. The first to tell me she was pregnant. The others updating me on your birth, your first steps, your first birthday." His voice broke. "They kept them all from me. They told me Nancy had moved on, that she wanted no further contact." Lily felt tears sliding down her own cheeks. Why would they do that? Because I was being groomed for a political career and an American girlfriend didn't fit their plans. His laugh was bitter. "Even back then, my grandmother had royal aspirations. The Harrington line had distant connections to the throne, though no one ever thought it would come to this." He shook his head. "When I returned to Boston a year later to look for Nancy, she had moved. The university had no forwarding address. She moved back to her hometown when she found out she was pregnant," Lily explained, "to be near her parents." Lord Harrington reached across the table, hesitating before gently taking Lily's hand. "You look like her," he said softly, "but you have my mother's eyes. And my chin, I think." Lily smiled through her tears. "That's what Oliver said." "Oliver?" "A friend I made here. His aunt works at Clarence House. She's the one who delivered my letter." Lord Harrington nodded, making a mental note. "I'll need to thank her." He studied Lily's face. "I don't know what to say. 'I'm sorry' seems woefully inadequate. I've missed 17 years of your life." "It wasn't your fault," Lily said. "Nevertheless." He cleared his throat. "Lily, I need to ask you something difficult. Do you have any proof that I'm your father, besides Nancy's word and these photographs?" Lily's heart sank, but she understood the question. "Mom thought you might ask that." She reached into her bag again and pulled out the small container with the strand of her hair. She said this could be used for a DNA test. "And I'm happy to take another one if you want." He smiled slightly, taking the container. "The palace officials will insist on it, I'm afraid. But it's just a formality." He gestured toward her face. "I can see myself in you. And I remember Nancy. She was the most honest person I've ever known. If she says I'm your father, then I believe her." For the next hour they talked. Lily told him about her life in Boston, her school, her dream of becoming a photographer. Lord Harrington, who asked her to call him James, shared stories of his own life, his charity work, his love of gardening. It was surreal, sitting across from this man who was both a stranger and her father, finding unexpected connections between them. "What happens now?" Lily finally asked, glancing at her watch. It was getting late and she had nowhere to stay for the night. James looked troubled. "That's complicated. My new position comes with certain expectations. The palace will want to handle this carefully. I'm not asking to be a princess, Lily said quickly. I just wanted to meet you, to know you. And I want to know you too, he assured her. But there are protocols, traditions. The royal family doesn't like surprises. He hesitated. Where are you staying tonight? Lily explained about checking out of her hotel, about her flight home in a few days. James thought for a moment, then spoke quietly to one of his security men. I've arranged for you to stay at a hotel near my residence, he told Lily. My assistant will help extend your flight if you're willing to stay longer. I need a few days to sort things out with the palace, but I want you to remain in London while I do. Are you going to tell them about me? Lily asked nervously. I have to. His expression was resolute. I've spent my life following their rules, letting them dictate my choices. I lost your mother because of their interference. I won't lose you too. As they stood to leave, James hesitated, then pulled Lily into an awkward but heartfelt hug. She stiffened in surprise, then relaxed, breathing in the scent of expensive cologne and something else, something familiar that she couldn't quite place. I'll contact you tomorrow, he promised as they parted. We have 17 years to catch up on. In the car to her new hotel, Lily texted Oliver. He found me. We talked. I'll tell you everything tomorrow. Then she called Nancy, her voice shaking with excitement and exhaustion as she recounted the meeting. He never got your letters, Mom. His family hid them from him. He tried to find you when he came back to Boston, but you had already moved. Nancy was silent for a long moment. I always wondered, she finally said, her voice thick with emotion. I never believed he would just abandon us. She paused. What is he like now? Lily thought about James. His formal manner that occasionally broke to reveal warmth underneath. His thoughtful questions. The way his eyes crinkled when he smiled, just like hers did. He's kind, she said simply, and he wants to know me. That night, in a luxurious hotel room she could never have afforded on her own, Lily lay awake, replaying the day's events. Tomorrow, James would begin the process of telling the royal family about her existence. Tomorrow, everything would change, but for now, in the quiet darkness, Lily held on to one simple truth. She had found her father, and against all odds, he had wanted to be found. Lily woke to sunlight streaming through unfamiliar curtains. For a moment, she was disoriented by the plush hotel room, a far cry from her budget accommodation of the past week. Then the events of yesterday came flooding back, and she sat up with a gasp. She had met her father who would someday be the King of England. Her phone buzzed with a text message from Oliver. Coffee? Need to hear everything. An hour later, she was sitting across from him at their usual table in the Crown and Anchor, recounting her meeting with James. Oliver listened with wide eyes, occasionally interrupting with questions. So the royal family doesn't know about you yet? He asked when she finished. Lily shook her head. James is meeting with some palace officials today. He said he'd call me afterward. This is huge, Oliver said, leaning back in his chair. You realize you're going to be in the papers once this gets out, right? The long-lost daughter of the future king. The thought made Lily's stomach twist. I didn't think that far ahead. I just wanted to meet him. Well, meeting him was only step one, Oliver pointed out. Now comes the complicated part, fitting into his world. Before Lily could respond, her phone rang. It was James. Good morning, he said, his voice sounding tired. I hope you slept well. Better than I have all week, Lily admitted. How did your meetings go? There was a pause. Mixed results. The palace wants to proceed cautiously. They've scheduled a DNA test for this afternoon, if that's acceptable to you. Of course, Lily said, though the formality of it stung slightly. What time? A car will pick you up at 2. And Lily, there's something else. James hesitated. The news has leaked somehow. There's a story in one of the tabloids about me meeting a young American woman. No details yet, but it won't be long before they put it together. Lily's heart sank. What should I do? Stay in your hotel. Don't speak to anyone you don't know. I'll have additional security sent over. His voice softened. I'm sorry about this. I wanted us to have more time before dealing with the public aspect. After hanging up, Lily explained the situation to Oliver, who immediately pulled out his phone and found the tabloid article, Royal Heir Meets Mystery American Secret Love Child. The accompanying photo was grainy but unmistakably showed Lily and James sitting in the tea room. Someone at the hotel must have tipped them off, Oliver said, scrolling through the article. It doesn't mention your name yet, but it's only a matter of time. Lily felt sick. I should call my mom. But Nancy had already seen the news. It's all over the American gossip sites, too, she said when Lily called. Are you okay? Just overwhelmed, Lily admitted. I didn't think about becoming a news story. Should I come there? Nancy asked. I could be on a flight tonight. Lily considered it. Having her mother with her would be comforting, but it would also complicate things further. Before she could decide, Oliver tapped her arm urgently, pointing out the cafe window. A man with a camera was lurking across the street, trying to look casual but obviously watching the cafe. I need to go, Mom, Lily said quickly. There's a photographer outside. I'll call you later. Oliver led her out through the cafe's back door, down an alley, and into a maze of side streets. My apartment isn't far, he explained as they hurried along. You can hide out there until your car comes. Oliver's apartment was a tiny studio above a bookshop, cluttered with photography equipment and textbooks. It's not much, he said apologetically, clearing clothes off a chair for her. It's perfect, Lily assured him, peeking out the window to make sure they hadn't been followed. Thanks for helping me. What are friends for? Oliver grinned. Besides, how often do I get to be involved in a royal scandal? They spent the next couple of hours watching the news, where the story was beginning to pick up traction. More details were emerging, though thankfully not Lily's name or background yet. Political commentators were already speculating about the impact on the succession if James truly had a secret American heir. At exactly 2 o'clock, Lily's phone buzzed with a message from James's assistant. The car was waiting at the corner near Oliver's apartment. How they knew where she was, Lily didn't ask. The DNA test took place at a private medical facility with tight security. Lily sat nervously as a doctor swabbed the inside of her cheek, explaining the process in a gentle voice. James was there too, having already given his sample earlier. Results will take 24 to 48 hours, the doctor explained, sealing the samples in labeled containers, though I think we already know what they'll show, James added with a small smile for Lily. After the test, James suggested they have dinner at his London residence, a chance to talk more privately. His home was a beautiful townhouse in Belgravia, elegantly furnished but surprisingly comfortable. As they ate in a cozy dining room, James explained what had happened in his meetings with palace officials. The Queen has been informed of the situation, he said. She's requested a private audience with both of us once the DNA results confirm what we already know. Lily nearly choked on her water. The Queen wants to meet me? James nodded. It's standard protocol for any significant matter affecting the royal succession. But I don't affect the succession, Lily pointed out. I wasn't born in wedlock, right? So I can't be in line for the throne. James looked uncomfortable. It's complicated. While you're correct that traditionally you wouldn't be in the direct line, there have been modernizations to royal protocol in recent years. The palace lawyers are reviewing the situation. The gravity of it all suddenly hit Lily. She had come to London just wanting to meet her father, to fill the empty space in her life. She never imagined being thrust into a constitutional debate about royal succession. I don't want to be in line for anything, she said firmly. I just wanted to find you. James reached across the table and squeezed her hand. I know, and I'm glad you did. His expression grew serious. But there's something else we need to discuss. The press situation is escalating. The palace's strategy has always been to control the narrative, which means we need to make an official statement soon. What kind of statement? Acknowledging you as my daughter, once the DNA results confirm it. Explaining the circumstances, that I never knew about you, that your mother tried to contact me. He hesitated. They'll want to present you publicly. A controlled interview, perhaps, or a photo opportunity. Lily's stomach lurched. Like I'm some kind of royal exhibit? It's not ideal, James admitted. But if we don't control the story, the press will create their own version. They're already digging into your life. Someone called your school in Boston today, pretending to be from a college admissions office. Lily felt a chill. This is crazy. I'm just a regular person. Not anymore, James said gently. I'm sorry, but your life has changed. Our best option is to face this head on, with the palace's resources behind us. That night, back in her hotel room, now with a security guard posted in the hallway, Lily video called Nancy again. This time, she didn't hesitate to ask her to come to London. Please, Mom, I need you here. Nancy's face on the screen showed concern. Of course, sweetie. I'll book a flight for tomorrow. The next morning, more articles appeared, and this time they had Lily's name. Someone from her school must have talked. There were quotes from friends she barely knew, old social media photos, and wild speculation about her future role in the royal family. Oliver texted her a screenshot of a British betting site offering odds on whether she'd be given a title, with Princess Lily the current favorite at 3-1. Lily spent the day in her hotel room, alternating between watching the news coverage in horror and texting with Oliver, who provided both moral support and snarky commentary on the more ridiculous headlines. Shortly after noon, James called. The DNA results are in, he said without preamble. 90% match. Not that I had any doubts. Lily felt a strange mixture of emotions. Relief, validation, and a new wave of anxiety about what came next. So what happens now? The Queen has requested our presence at Buckingham Palace tomorrow afternoon. Your mother is landing in the morning, yes? She's invited as well. The Queen wants to meet my mom? Lily couldn't keep the shock from her voice. Indeed. There was a hint of amusement in James's tone. I believe Her Majesty is quite curious about the woman I was once in love with. The next day passed in a blur. Lily met Nancy at Heathrow, hugging her tightly in the arrivals area, protected from photographers by James's security team. They were whisked to Nancy's hotel, where a selection of appropriate outfits for their palace visit had been delivered. This is surreal, Nancy said, examining a conservative navy blue dress with matching jacket. When I met James, he was just a charming exchange student who spilled coffee on my books. Were you really in love with him? Lily asked, remembering James's words. Nancy's eyes softened. Completely. He was different from anyone I'd ever met. Smart, funny, kind. I thought we had a future together. She touched the dress gently. I never imagined that future would include meeting the Queen of England 17 years later. As they dressed for the palace visit, Lily studied her mother. Nancy was still beautiful, with the same warm smile that appeared in those old photographs with James. She wondered what it would be like for them to see each other again after all these years. The car arrived precisely at 2:30 p.m. James was already inside, looking regal in a dark suit. His eyes widened slightly when he saw Nancy, and for a moment he seemed at a loss for words. Hello, James, Nancy said softly. It's been a long time. Nancy. His voice was almost a whisper. You look wonderful. The ride to Buckingham Palace was quiet, filled with the weight of their shared past and the uncertainty of their future. As they passed through the palace gates, James turned to Lily. Remember, when meeting the Queen, a small curtsy is appropriate. Address her as Your Majesty initially, then Ma'am afterward. Answer her questions honestly but concisely. Lily nodded, her heart pounding. This wasn't how she had imagined her trip to London ending, with a royal audience that could determine the course of her life. The palace interior was even more impressive than she had imagined. Grand, hallways lined with portraits, ornate ceilings, and uniformed staff who moved with practiced efficiency. They were led to a smaller, more intimate room than Lily had expected, where several people waited. An older woman Lily recognized as the Queen's private secretary, 2 men in suits who were introduced as royal advisors, and seated in a blue armchair, looking smaller in person than Lily had imagined, was the Queen herself. As they entered, James placed a reassuring hand on Lily's back. Remember, he whispered, she's just a person. A very powerful, historically significant person, but still just a person. Lily took a deep breath and stepped forward, ready to face whatever came next. In the span of 2 weeks, she had gone from a regular teenager to the daughter of the future King of England. Now she was about to meet the Queen herself. Whatever happened next, her life would never be the same. Lily executed a small, awkward curtsy just as James had instructed. Her heart was hammering so loudly she was certain everyone in the room could hear it. Your Majesty, she managed to say, her voice barely above a whisper. The Queen studied her with sharp, intelligent eyes that missed nothing. She was smaller than Lily had expected, but there was no mistaking the air of authority that surrounded her. Miss Morgan, the Queen said, her voice crisp, but not unkind. Please sit down. Nancy curtsied next, introduced herself, and took the seat beside Lily. James remained standing, as if awaiting further instruction. Well, the Queen said after a moment of silence that felt eternal to Lily. This is quite the situation we find ourselves in. She turned to James. The DNA results are conclusive, I understand. Yes, Your Majesty, James replied. Lily is my daughter. The Queen nodded thoughtfully. I have been thoroughly briefed on the circumstances. It seems there was interference from certain members of your family, Lord Harrington. Yes, ma'am, James said, his jaw tightening slightly. My father and grandmother intercepted all communication from Nancy. I was never informed of Lily's existence. The Queen's expression softened almost imperceptibly. A most unfortunate situation. She turned her attention to Lily. Tell me, young lady, what were your intentions in coming to London to find your father? Lily swallowed hard. I just wanted to know him, Your Majesty. I've grown up without a father, and when I learned who he was, she paused, choosing her words carefully. I didn't come for money or titles or anything like that. I just wanted to meet him, to understand where I came from. The Queen studied her, and Lily had the uncomfortable feeling that this woman could see straight through any pretense. Fortunately, Lily was telling the truth. A natural desire, the Queen finally said. And now that you have met Lord Harrington, what are your expectations? I hadn't thought that far ahead, Lily admitted. Everything's happened so fast. Indeed, the Queen agreed dryly. However, the situation now requires careful consideration. The press is already speculating wildly about your role and status. We must decide how to proceed. One of the royal advisors stepped forward with a folder. We've prepared several options, Your Majesty. For the next hour, they discussed the possibilities. The Queen's private secretary took notes as various scenarios were presented. Lily tried to follow along, but much of the discussion involved legal terminology and royal protocols she didn't understand. What she did gather was that there were significant concerns about how to officially acknowledge her without disrupting the carefully planned royal succession. Finally, the Queen held up her hand, silencing the discussion. I believe we've examined this from every angle. Now I would like to speak with Lord Harrington and the Morgans privately. The advisors and secretary bowed and left the room, closing the door behind them. The Queen's demeanor shifted subtly, becoming less formal. Now then, let us speak plainly. James, what do you want from this situation? James looked startled by the direct question. I want to know my daughter, ma'am. I've already missed 17 years of her life. I don't want to miss any more. And you, Miss Morgan? The Queen asked Lily. The same, Lily said. I just want a chance to know my father. The Queen nodded, then turned to Nancy. And you, Miss Morgan? What are your thoughts on all this? Nancy sat up straighter. I want what's best for Lily, Your Majesty. If that means having a relationship with her father, then I support it completely. But I'm concerned about the media attention, the public scrutiny. She's still a teenager, still finding her way in the world. A valid concern, the Queen acknowledged. The press can be relentless, particularly in matters concerning the royal family. She was quiet for a moment, then seemed to come to a decision. Here's what I propose. We will issue a statement confirming that Lord Harrington has discovered he has a daughter from a previous relationship, one he was unaware of until recently. We will acknowledge Lily officially, but with certain provisions. She outlined her plan. Lily would be recognized as James's daughter, but would not be placed in the line of succession. She would be granted a courtesy title, not princess, but Lady Lily Morgan, should she choose to accept it. She would be provided with security and support, but would not be expected to undertake royal duties. Most importantly, she would be given time and space to build a relationship with her father away from the public eye. The press will need to be satisfied with an initial introduction, of course, the Queen said. A carefully managed statement, perhaps a single photograph. After that, you deserve privacy to become acquainted as father and daughter. Lily felt a wave of relief. It was a sensible approach, acknowledging her existence without thrusting her immediately into royal life. Thank you, Your Majesty, James said, his voice thick with emotion. This is more than fair. There is one more matter, the Queen said, turning back to Lily. Your education. I understand you're still in high school in Boston? Lily nodded. I have one more year. And after that? College, I hope. I'm interested in photography. The Queen smiled slightly. Photography? How fitting. My late husband was quite the photographer himself. She seemed to consider something. Perhaps arrangements could be made for you to study here in London if that interests you. It would allow you more time with your father. Lily's heart leapt at the possibility. "I'd like that very much, Your Majesty." As their audience with the Queen concluded, Lily felt as though a great weight had been lifted. The future was still uncertain, but at least there was a plan, a way forward that allowed her to know her father without completely upending her life. Outside, in one of the palace's private gardens, Lily, Nancy, and James took a moment to process what had happened. "Well," James said with a hint of his dry humor, "that went better than I expected." Nancy laughed, the tension of the day finally breaking. The Queen was actually quite understanding. "She's seen her share of family complications over the years," James replied. "And she's pragmatic. The monarchy has survived by adapting." Lily watched her parents talking, struck by how naturally they seemed to fall back into conversation. Despite the 17 years and extraordinary circumstances that separated them, there was still an obvious affection there, a connection that had never completely broken. "What happens next?" she asked. James turned to her with a gentle smile. "Tomorrow we issue the statement and deal with the initial press response. After that," he hesitated, "I was hoping you both might stay in London a bit longer. There's a cottage on my country estate that would give you privacy. We could spend some time getting to know each other, away from all of this." He gestured toward the palace. Nancy looked uncertain. "I'd need to arrange more time off work." "Please," James said softly. "We've lost so many years already." The look that passed between them made Lily wonder if there might be more than just co-parenting in their future. The thought both thrilled and terrified her. 3 days later, after a carefully orchestrated press conference where James officially acknowledged Lily as his daughter, they escaped London for his country estate in the Cotswolds. The sprawling property had been in the Harrington family for generations, with gardens, woods, and even a small lake. The cottage James had mentioned turned out to be a charming 3-bedroom house that would have fit Lily and Nancy's entire Boston apartment inside it several times over. It was comfortable and private, with views of the countryside that took Lily's breath away. In the days that followed, they fell into a strange but pleasant routine. James would come over in the mornings and they would spend the day together, walking the grounds, looking through old family albums, or simply talking for hours. Lily learned that she had inherited not just his green eyes, but his love of history, his stubborn determination, and his sweet tooth. They discovered shared interests in photography and gardening, and James delighted in teaching Lily about her English heritage. Nancy often joined them, and Lily couldn't help noticing how her mother seemed to bloom in James's company, becoming more relaxed and laughing more freely than Lily had seen in years. For his part, James clearly still admired Nancy, often watching her when he thought no one would notice. One evening, as they sat on the cottage porch watching the sunset, Oliver called. He had been keeping Lily updated on the media coverage, which was beginning to die down as newer scandals took precedence. "How's life as Lady Lily?" he teased. "I haven't decided if I'm taking the title yet," she reminded him, "and it's actually pretty normal here. Dad's teaching me to drive on the left side of the road." The word "dad" had slipped out naturally, and Lily realized it was the first time she'd called James that. It felt right. "So when are you coming back to London?" Oliver asked. "The cafe isn't the same without you. Next week, maybe. Mom has to get back to work soon." "And what about you? Coming back to Boston too?" Lily glanced through the cottage window, where Nancy and James were laughing together in the kitchen, preparing dinner. "I'm not sure yet. I've applied to some art schools in London for next year, and Dad says I can visit as often as I want until then." The future was still taking shape, but Lily had already decided on one thing. She would accept the courtesy title of lady. Not because she cared about status, but because it was a connection to her father, to the heritage she had only just discovered. A month after her arrival in London, Lily stood at Heathrow Airport with James, preparing to board a flight back to Boston. The press had been tipped off, of course, part of the palace's strategy of controlled access, and photographers lingered at a respectful distance. "It's only for a few months," James assured her, his eyes suspiciously bright. "You'll be back for Christmas, and then we'll look at those university options." Nancy had already said her goodbyes the previous evening in private. There had been something different between her parents when they'd parted, a lingering hug, a whispered conversation Lily couldn't hear. She had her suspicions but didn't want to get her hopes up. I'll call you every Sunday, Lily promised, fighting back tears. And we can video chat during the week. Every day if you'd like. James pulled her into a tight hug. I've only just found you. I'm not letting you go that easily. As Lily boarded the plane, she reflected on how drastically her life had changed in just a few short weeks. She had set out to find her father and discovered not just him, but a whole new identity, new possibilities, new connections. She had learned that families could be broken and mended. That time could be lost and then, in some small way, reclaimed. Looking out the airplane window as England disappeared beneath the clouds, Lily touched the silver locket still hanging around her neck. Inside was the old photo of James, but now on the other side, there was a new addition. A tiny photograph of the three of them, Lily, Nancy, and James, taken at the country estate. A family portrait 17 years in the making. Lily smiled and closed the locket. She was heading home to Boston, but she knew now that home could be in more than one place. And no matter what the future held, whether royal duties or ordinary life, whether her parents rekindled their old romance or simply became friends again, she had found what she had been looking for all along. The missing pieces of herself, the connection to her past, and the promise of a future where she was no longer searching. She was found.